Okay, we're continuing this series of videos for survivors of abuse. We've got to the stage now where we're going to try to answer part of the question of, should I talk about it? Should I talk about what's happened in the past? So this is a question I get asked a fair amount, and it's a really good question because often people are wondering two things. One thing, people are thinking, I know this has impacted me, this abuse in the past. So I feel like I should get professional help, particularly because it's hindering me in my relationships and it's hindering me with other aspects of life. But on the flip side, people are thinking, but right now I'm just about managing to hold it together. And if I chat to a therapist, am I then just going to become a mess? Is it going to open the floodgates and I'll never be able to stop that dam once it explodes? And will I find I can't look after my kids and I can't hold down my job and so on, which is a really good thing to think about. So what I want to do, I don't want to persuade anyone to get therapy, but I just want to kind of put it out there, what those options are and what they look like. So first off, I'd say if you do see a good therapist, what will happen in the long run is that you might well find, like in my case, that you get improvements in your voice, that you find your voice, the way you were made to be. You get a certain freedom in using your voice, and that can be a wonderful thing if you had your voice taken away in the past. The other thing that happens, it can really help with your relationships with people. The other way it helps is how you use your power. It can really help you with using your power. And if you're in a position where in the past you struggled with having a lot of agency, you haven't had much agency in your life, it can really help you regain that agency. If you're in a position where you're responsible for other people, like parenting or a boss at work, then it can really help you getting therapy to use your power well in a way that really serves others and that isn't too harsh. So there's really good benefits. Also, what you can find from the therapy is if you have PTSD symptoms, you could see a lessening of those symptoms. In some cases, you might even see some symptoms just totally go away. You might see some symptoms go away, some stay. But what I'm saying is you could expect, if you see a good therapist, to have an improvement in your quality of life in many ways. Having said that, the short-term thing is that you've now got to look at stuff that you don't want to look at. You now got to try and find ways to put words to the unspeakable. That's really hard to do. A good therapist can help you get there. You don't have to get there straight away on day one, but that's hard to do. And, my therapist said to me, there's a way through it, but the only way through it is through it. For me, that was proper helpful to be like, okay. And in my case, my coping skills weren't that I had in life. They worked for so many years, and then I got to a point in my life where they weren't really working too well for me. So I was like, I've got to get therapy now. My PTSD symptoms got really bad. They got worse than they'd ever been in my whole life. And I was like, I've got to work through it. And it was hard to work through it, but it was worth it. But what I want to say is, if you are thinking, yeah, I want to go for therapy, I want to ask you, do you have some supportive people around you? Because I think if you're going to start talking about that stuff from the past, you need a small number of people around you who are going to be supportive. Yeah. A small number of people who've really got your back. Yeah. A small number of people who are going to be there for you, show up for you, who you can depend on in that time. So I'd say make sure you got some kind of support network. It doesn't have to be a massive support network, but something like if you can have 2 or 3 people who've really got your back, who know that you're going to go through a tough season. They're going to show up for you. They're not going to be judgmental to you when you're going through this season. They're not going to complain to you when you're going through this season about the ways they find you irritating and awkward. They're people that are just going to shower unconditional love on you and give as much support as they possibly can. Have that in place if you're going to get therapy. The other thing I'd say is Do you have a way to cultivate beauty in your life? And I call this hobbies that heal. Hobbies that heal. So what I'm getting at here is abuse takes a lot from you, but something that they could never take probably is your ability to appreciate beauty. And when we have some way in our life that we can look at beauty, that we can cultivate beauty, it reminds us that although there's a lot of bad things in the world, not everything is bad. Not everything is wrong. There's still beauty out there, and you still have the ability to see that beauty and to savor it. They were never able to take that away from you. So when I used to get counseling afterwards, I might go in a park and look at beautiful nature around, look at a deep blue sky, look at the sun shining, look at the leaves on the trees, you know, and just savoring the beauty. The other thing I used to do is go and make music. You know, go and start making music, because for me, producing music is, for me, very soothing. Really helps me with my mental health. So I would do that. If I have a week where I know I'm going to be looking at the topic of abuse a lot, I make sure I carve out some time to make music, because I know that's really going to help me. It's going to help my mood through that. So I also have a hobby of photography. I find that's a way that I can cultivate beauty. Some of you might be into gardening, painting, you know, singing, drumming. You know, there's so many things you can do to cultivate beauty. I'd say find hobbies that heal, that you can maintain whilst you're getting therapy. And then what I also want to say is, it's okay if you just want to go part of the journey. You might think, I want professional help, but I don't think I can talk about the trauma yet. That's cool. You know, you could see a therapist about depression or anxiety, or in some people's case, boarding school syndrome. You know, you could just say, I just want to go part of the journey. I just want to look at a couple of issues, a couple of things to help me. And that's fine. And if you can do that, that's amazing as well. You know, don't feel you have to like do the whole thing in one go, you know, and take your time, you know, take your time, work at a pace that works well for you. Just want to remind you as well, there's a PDF of all this stuff. So get the PDF if you prefer to read this kind of material. And also, please remember, after this video, do something that helps you to soothe. All right, take care.